everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a bracelet today. It's going to be a little flower bracelet. It's going to look a lot like the daisy chain bracelet that you've probably seen a lot of, but it's not made exactly the same way. I've made a ton of daisy chains, and I can do that at some point in the future if you want me to. This is just made a little bit different. I've got 4 colors of eidos here. I'm going to use 4 different colors. I want to make 4 different colored flowers. You don't have to do that. You can use all the same color if you want to. I just like to do that. These are red. I don't know what color these are exactly because I think I got them in a Potomac beads box when I was subscribed to their box. So I didn't have the color on them, so I don't know what they are. These are opaque turquoise luster. And my camera just is refusing to focus today for some reason, but I'll try to put as many of these that I can find links to in the description box below in case you all want to get some of the same thing. This is called Luminous Cotton Candy. This purple one is called Lilac Ceylon. And those are all eidos. These are some 3mm fire polish beads, just yellow fire polish beads. I'm sure I got those in the dollar bead box and bag subscription that I was subscribed to years ago. I have 8 11-0s and 2 8-0s in galvanized silver. I know that's weirdly specific, 8 11-0s and 2 8-0s, but that's all I need. I've got some findings here. I've got a lobster clasp and an extender chain and a couple of jump rings and a couple of wire guardians. I usually put toggles on bracelets, but these are really popular with little girls, and so I usually make these shorter than I normally would make a regular bracelet, maybe about 6 inches or so, and I put a lobster clasp and extender chain on it. That way, as they grow and their little arms get bigger, they can still wear the bracelet. I've got a 6-0 seed bead here. It's just an orange that I'm going to use as a stop bead. I've got a couple of tulip beading needles here. I've got my 8-pound fire line. I've got my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers, and those are just to put my findings on with. And I use the regular chain nose pliers to flatten the end of my thread so I can get it through the needle. And I've got my scissors to cut my thread with. And like I said, it's a good idea. I've said before, it's a good idea to have a different pair of scissors to cut your fire line with because they'll dull your good scissors. I think that's everything that I have here. I'll get some of this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to start with my red beads here, and this is really just right angle weave is all this is. Like I said, it's different than the way you make a regular daisy chain bracelet. I tried to find some examples to show y'all, but I couldn't find any. I guess I've sold them all. Like I said, they sell out really quick, so I didn't have any examples to show you. I've already threaded my needle, and I put a stop bead on the end because I've already done that in the other videos, and I'll link those other videos up in the corner of this one and in the description box below in case you need to go back and look at them about how to thread the needle and put the stop bead on. I'm not leaving much of a tail at all because I'm going to put my clasp on right away. I find it easier to do that with these. That way I don't have to come back to the end when I'm done and rethread this needle and add my clasp, and it's easy to do in this kind of a bracelet. And by the time I go through the beads as many times as I'm going to go through them and cross my thread as many times as I'm going to, it's not going to come loose, so I'm not going to need to even sew this back in. So I'm going to pick up 8 of my red 8-0s here. And I'm going to pull my thread through. And I'm going to come back up through the first 2 beads. And this is just going to be a little right angle weave box with 2 beads on the bottom, 2 beads on the side, 2 beads on the top, and 2 beads, 2 beads on the bottom, 2 beads on each side, and 2 beads on the top. So it's just a little box, but it's got 2 beads on each side of the box rather than one like I did in those others. I'm not really going to try to keep it in this box shape because I want it to kind of be a little bit round to make it look more like a flower. But it really is just a little right angle weave box. So I'm going to sew back through these 2 at a time. Until I get back around to the ones I started in, where my stop bead is. Okay, now, I know this doesn't look like much yet, but it's good. It's going to do. I'm going to sew back through them again to give this first one a little bit more structure. So I'm just going to go back through them 2 at a time. Okay, that's a little better, but so there's my little box. I've got 2 for the top, 2 for each side, and 2 for the bottom. Now I'm going to put my clasping on. So I'm going to use four of my 11-O's and 1 of my 8-O's. And my wire guardian. I'm going to pick up 2 11-O's, 1 8-O, and my wire guardian. Bring it all to the end of my thread. Get this stop bead out of the way. So I've got 2 11-O's, 1 8-O, and my wire guardian. I'm going to go back down through my wire guardian, and I'm going to pinch my clasp there to try and guide that thread to go into the channel like I need it to, the channel of the wire guardian. Now I'm going to go back through my 8-O. So I've got coming out. I started by coming out of this side of this red 8-O. I put on 2 11-O's, my 8-O, my wire guardian, came back around my wire guardian, back down through my 8-O. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-O's, and I'm going to go in this side of these 2 beads. I'm going to pull it through. And now I'm just going to reinforce like I've done in the other videos I did. I'm going to go back up through the 2 11-O's and the 8-O if I can get it. And it looks like my thread's going to go on through that wire guardian, so the bead gods are shining on me today. And now I'm going to come back down through my wire guardian, and if I can, back down through the 8-O. Hold the wire guardian to guide that thread down into the channel. Now I'm going to go back down through the 8-O's on the, or 11-O's on the other side. I'm going to go back through the 2 beads that I'm attached to here. Now I'm going to do that just one more time because I always reinforce my clasp 3 times. So I'm going to go back up through the 11 O's and the 8 O. Back up through the wire guardian. Back down through the wire guardian. Back through my 8 O if I can get through it all at one time. Hold my wire guardian so that I can guide that thread down in the channel and go back through the 2 11 O's on the other side. So now I've got my clasp on here, or my wire guardian that I can attach my clasp to. Now I'm going to take one of my yellow fire polish beads, and I know this doesn't look like a box. I'm going to try to straighten it up here. I don't really want it to look like a box, but so that you all can see what I'm doing, I'm going to try to make it look more like a box. So I've got 2 beads right here, 2 beads on the bottom, 2 beads here, and 2 beads here. I'm coming out this red bead. I'm going to go in the opposite side of these other 2 beads and pull my thread through. And that little 3mm fire polish is going to go there in the center and make my little flower shape. You can put, you don't have to use 3mm fire polish. You can use probably a 3x4mm rondelle would work in there, just whatever will fit in there that you think is pretty. So now I'm going to get ready to make my next flower. Okay, and now I'm going to go, I'm just going to cut this stop bead off because I don't need it anymore, and there's no need, I don't need to try to sew it in because I went through those so many times it's not going to come loose. I'm just going to cut that off and get it out of my way. Now I'm going to do my blue flower, and this is a little different than right angle weave. When we did the right angle weave, we used the two, like we used one side, we already had one side of our box, but I want my whole next flower to be blue. So I'm just going to pick up 2 of my blue beads. Normally I would just pick up 6 and make my other right angle weave box because I've already got 2 of them. But I want to make a whole nother box because I want it all to be blue. So I'm just going to ladder stitch this onto here. That's what this is. I'm going to take 2 of my blue beads. I'm coming up this red bead at the bottom here. I'm going to go on the top of this red bead, go through those 2, which is one side of my box, but I'm just going to put these right next to it. That's just the ladder stitch like I did in the herringbone, like how I started the herringbone bracelet that I made. Now I'm just going to go back up through these 2 blue beads and back down through the 2 red beads just to reinforce there because that's my connection. Back up through the 2 blue beads. Now I need 6 more beads to make my 8-sided, or my not my 8-sided box, but my 8 beads to make my box like this first box. So I'm coming up the top of this blue bead. I'm going to go in the bottom of these 2 beads with my other 6 beads. So that's my next little flower. Now I'm going to go back through these 2 at a time. until I'm coming back through the first two that I put on here. The ones right here next to these two red ones. So there's my next little box. 2 blue, 2 blue, 2 blue, 2 blue. Now I'm going to take one of my little yellow fire polish beads. I'm coming out the bottom of these two beads. I'm going to go in the opposite side of the opposite two beads. I'll make sure my little fire polish bead comes up there on top and sits down in there. And there's my second little flower. Now I'm coming out these two blue beads. I'm going to do my pink ones next. So I'm going to ladder stitch 2 pink ones on here. So I'm coming out the bottom of this blue bead. I'm going to go on the top of these 2 blue beads here with 2 of my pink beads. I'm going to go back up these 2 pink beads. Go back down these 2 blue beads. And back up these two pink beads. Now I'm going to pick up 6 more of my pink beads to make 8 beads for this flower. I'm coming out the top of these pink beads. I'm going to go in the bottom of the pink beads. And now I'm just going to flip it around and I'm going to go back through all the beads 2 at a time. Till I get back through the first 2 pink beads that I put on here next to the blue beads. So there's that little flower box. I'm going to take my yellow fire polish bead, coming out the bottom of these 2 pink beads. I'm going to go across and go in the opposite side of the opposite 2 pink beads. Set my little fire polish beads down in there, pull tight and squish him down in there, and that'll make the little flower looking like shape. Now I'm going to do my purple ones. Take 8 of my purple beads. We'll pick up 2. I'm going to ladder stitch them onto these 2 pink beads. Coming out the bottom of these 2 pink beads, I'm going to go in the top of these 2 pink beads. Pull my thread through. Now I'm just going to reinforce this because this is a connection point, and I always reinforce the connection point. So I'm just going to back up the 2 purple beads, back down the 2 pink beads, and back up the 2 purple beads. Now I'm going to pick up my other 6 purple beads to make my 8 beads. I'm coming out the top of these purple beads. I'm going to go in the bottom of these purple beads. Now I'm just going to flip it over and sew back through all the beads 2 at a time. Till I'm coming back through the 2 beads that I started in next to the 2 pink beads. Thread keeps trying to knot on me. Okay. Now I'm going to take one of my yellow beads, coming out the bottom of these two purple beads. I'm going to go in the opposite side of the opposite two purple beads. Make sure my little yellow bead falls up on top there. Pull it tight and squish it down in there. And there's my fourth flower. I got 4 little flowers there. Now I'm going to do my red ones again. I'll just do one more and then I'll leave you alone. So I'm going to take 8 of my red beads. I'm going to ladder stitch 2 on to these two that I'm coming out of here. I'm going to go in the top of these 2 purple beads to ladder stitch those 2 on, 2 red ones on. Now I'm going to reinforce. I'm going to go back up through these 2 red ones, back down through these 2 purple ones, and back up these 2 red ones. Now I'm going to pick up my other 6 red beads to make the outside of my little flower. I'm coming out the top of these 2 red beads. I'm going to go in the bottom. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to sew back through the beads, all the beads, 2 at a time. Until I get back to my 2 red beads I started in that are over here next to the 2 purple beads. Now I'm going to straighten everything up so I can see where my sides are. So I'm coming out the bottom of these 2 red beads. I'm going to pick up one of my yellow fire polish beads, well, I thought I had it on my needle and it jumped off. Okay, I'm coming out the bottom of these 2 red beads. I'm going to go in the opposite side of the opposite 2 red beads. Pull it through. Make sure my little fire polish bead lands on top there, goes down in there. Pull it tight and squish him down in there. And there's my 5th little flower. So I got 5 little flowers. So I'm going to keep doing this until I get the length I want, and then I'll come back and we'll put on the other side of the clasp. Okay, now I've got all the little flowers done that I want to do, and I'm going to put it on the other side of my clasp. I'm going to do it just exactly like I did the first time. Come on now, camera. Settle down. Okay. I'm coming out of these 2 purple beads here. I'm going to pick up 2 11-ohs, an 8-oh, and my wire guardian. I'll squish in my wire guardian a little bit. I'm going to come down the other side of my wire guardian. Hold on to it so that my thread will land in the channel there. I think I'm zoomed in too much. Now I'm going to go back down the 8-oh. I'm coming out of, or I started on this side of my 2 beads here. I'm going to pick up 2 11-ohs and you go into the other side of my 2 beads that I started in. Pull that through. Now I'm going to reinforce. I'm going to go up my 2 11/0s, my 8/0. Back up my wire guardian. Back down the wire guardian. And through the 8/0 if you can. Hold onto the wire guardian so that thread will land in the channel. We're going to go back through the 11/0s on the other side. Back through these 2 purple beads. And just do that one more time. Back up the 11/0s and the 8/0 if you can get it. Back up one channel of the wire guardian. Back down the other channel of the wire guardian. And the 8/0 if you can get through it. Hold the wire guardian so you can guide your thread down into that channel. Go back through the 2 11/0s on this side. Back through the 2 beads that I started in. Now I'm just going to take my thread. I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to tie some 3 half-hitch knots like I did on that the other right angle weave project we did. I'm going to get my little thread bridge here. I'm going to pull my thread through, go through the loop, pull it down slowly. I'm going to go through a few more beads. Just following the same path my thread took to begin with. I'm going to get this little thread bridge here. Pull it through. Go through the loop. Slowly pull it down. Go back through a few more beads. Just following the same path that my thread took to begin with. Then catch this thread bridge, go through my loop, pull it down slowly, then go through a few more beads. Get away from my knot. Now I'm just going to cut off my thread. Now I'm going to put my findings on. I'm going to take my 6mm jump ring. Thread on one side of my bracelet. My lobster clasp. Close up my jump ring. Take my other jump ring. 6mm jump ring. Open it up. Thread on the other side with my extender chain. Close it up. Now we're done. Now let me clean up my mess a little. And there you go. There's my little flower bracelet. Kind of looks a lot like the daisy chain, but it's just made a little bit differently. Like I said, these these are really popular, especially with little girls, but for women too. They're just a cute little bracelet. As always, thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.